Hi. So let's see if I can get this to work. We're going to talk about writing as a process. This is Professor Kalamanis. This is for the module where we're going to be looking at how to produce summaries, and we're thinking about writing as a process. So you already read an article for me, and now I'm asking you to read a second one, and then just kind of think about what it means to write a college composition. So we want to start to learn how to do that. Maybe you know how to write pretty well. Maybe you're a novice at writing. Maybe you're not very sure about what to do. So I'm going to just talk about what writing is and what the process is. So part of the process is what we started with, 5 major areas. As you approach assignments, you want to pay attention to these 5 major things that you're going to do. These areas are known as pre-writing, drafting, revision, editing, and proofreading. So you're going to think about where you are right now. So where you are right now is somewhere between pre-writing and revision. We're not working on final assignments yet, but we're just trying to learn to build our skills. Okay, so pre-writing is to kind of think about what I'm asking you to do. Now, reading the literature. So that means what I gave you to read, these 2 articles that I asked you to read. So things that you want to think about. First, you want to think about taking notes as you're reading and looking at new vocabulary words. So if you come across a word that you don't know, you're going to look it up. You can look it up in the dictionary or you can Google it. And then you want to think about responding to the text. So you might want to print it and write in the margins or make notes. You can also do preliminary research. So looking at Wikipedia, looking at news articles, or if there's an author, you check their webpage. This research is very interesting. So you can think about considering your rhetorical design. Can you locate the main idea of the essay or the story? So the thesis. And then this says to go to LAGCC, but obviously that would be SCCC. This is when I was teaching at a different community college. But go to the library. Is there a database? Are there other articles by the writer? Or you can Google the topic and see what's there. If you Google it, use Google Scholar. Okay. Other ways to pre-write are for people that are more visual. You can make yourself a picture. You can make a comic strip, or you can make a meme or a vine. Now, I will often give an extra credit assignment to say you can make a meme of something. And so sometimes that really helps students to understand what the point of the essay was. Then we move on to drafting. These are exploratory drafts. So this week I'm asking you to write a first draft of a paper comparing these 2 different writers that are talking about workers, blue-collar workers and hidden intelligence. So we have Mike Rose and Gerald Graff. So you want to use the literature to focus your ideas. And you may want to think about clustering or outlining or visually making some kind of representation of your paper or your draft. So before you submit your draft to the professor, sometimes it's just a good idea to write it and then put it aside and look at it and see how your draft looks. That's really what we're thinking about, organizing our thoughts. The classical structure is the 5-paragraph essay. I like to talk about it in this way: the beginning, the middle, and the end. In the beginning, you want to have some kind of introduction that includes your thesis. In the middle, you want to have body paragraphs and have proof or evidence. And at the end, you want to say something that's going to be predictive. Like I always say, make a prediction about the future, write a conclusion. So, for example, my students are working on a paper about whether or not we should keep a story in the college syllabus. And their conclusion is to say, what will students in the future gain from reading this? Or what would they lose if we took it off the syllabus and we didn't read it? So you want to think about the conclusion, having some original idea, but also to restate your main points. So here we have the beginning, the middle, and the end. Then we go into revision. Now, we're going to think about this as a process, right? Revision often is rewriting. A lot of times students think that revision is proofreading. So you really want to start to get into the habit of thinking, oh, I have to rewrite everything. I'm going to write it once and then I'm going to write it again. And so you actually have this assignment right now where I said, write a summary. And then I gave you the next week, read the same article and write a summary after you thought about these skills. So you might want to reorganize. At a certain point, we'll do peer review. That means that we'll put it on the discussion board and people will look at your writing and give you feedback. And then, of course, you want feedback from me. But in college, you don't get that kind of like line by line feedback. You more get like a global revision, right? So that's what I call this, global revision. Just generally what you should do. If you need more help is to go to the writing center. If you think that you are going to get the kind of attention from sitting next to me for 45 minutes and going over your paper, then you need to go to the writing center because that's not what I'm going to be able to do. It's just not standard practice in college writing classes that the professor does line edits with you. So if you know that you've had that in the past and you like it, you probably want to go to the writing center. Then we think about editing. Editing is about sentences. Right now, we're not going to be too concerned about that, but just thinking about your sentences. It's a slow process, right? Writing is a slow thing. We're used to very fast communication now. You want to check your sentences one by one. You want to check and see if there's a subject and a verb. Does the subject and the verb agree? Are you using transitions in your paper? And did you include something from the essay that's a support? And how well does that prove your thesis? The last step of the writing process is to look at mechanics, spelling errors, verb errors, capitalization. You all are terrible at this. Punctuation. You are terrible at this. And here's why. Because mostly we communicate on text messaging, which you don't need to do that. But this is not text messaging. So you have to kind of think about the fact that you're writing in a foreign language now. There are rules. Punctuation. Does every thought have end punctuation? Does every sentence have a capital letter? If you're using the name of the article, have you included punctuation? Meaning, when you refer to Mike Rose's article, you put it in quotes, the title. So that's the kind of stuff that you do in proofreading. Okay, so in summary, we want to remember, this can all happen at one time. It's helpful to take the steps and get assistance with each of these areas. Think about how well did you read the essay? Are you open to new ideas when you're drafting? Can you move the paragraphs around and restructure? Are you making changes to sentences? And what small changes need to be made? Now, right now, we're kind of in this stage. We're just here. Pre-writing, drafting, revising. So that's what I'm walking you through. Okay, so that's what I wanted to tell you. Now, your assignment is said after you watch the video, do you want to make changes to your summaries? So that's what you're going to be thinking about right now, and I will see you next time.